Getting back in. Where was I? Ah, yes, coming back from the dead out of retirement, currently teamless. He is, of course, RiSky.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the Pakistani Protoss player. He is blue, representing Genesis Gaming. It is TeebuL.
And of course, we were talking quite a bit about Group A and how Quantel was the main wildcard in that group. In this group, I feel like the biggest wildcard would be RiSky, as again, he is coming out of retirement. Once again, he is, well, I was really doubting what his form was looking like, but then he smashed his way through the qualifiers, made it through on the first day, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And qualified very, very quickly in the close qualifiers as well. I would say TeebuL is somebody I personally also have my eyes on, just because I haven't really been able to keep up with him too much since the last season of DreamHack.
Yeah, what I will say is that I'm pretty sure ever since TeebuL has joined the region, he's consistently made it to the playoffs. Like, he has consistently been a part of the upper echelons of this region. But I agree when it comes to RiSky, just because, you know, there's of course that famous MMA quote, right? You know, what is it? Form is temporary, class is permanent. Because we don't know how long RiSky's been back, maybe a month practicing, and he just kind of breezed his way through in a way and already made it here back into the main event.
And now we shall see who is going to have a comfortable lead in the group stage when it comes to Group B. Again, this is the first round, so it's not like either player is going to be eliminated or advancing just yet. But it's pretty important to have a little bit of an early lead. And speaking of an early lead, that's a... well, I can't really call it an early Stargate. It's about the right timing, but the placement of it is odd. It's being proxied.
Exactly. So I'm happy about this. I'm a little bit scarred. There's a matchup there's a series that we bring back every now and then. And I don't know if you remember this, but it includes these two players. And that is the ANZ Champs match that Pilsky and I casted on.
I wiped that from my mind, Light, and now you brought it all back.
In ANZ Champs last year, not this year, Pilsky and I, we casted a match on Romanticide where it was me, Pilsky, and Pig. And Pig, he was happily eating dinner.
In front of you guys.
Yeah, as we were casting, because food came in after game 1, and we were locked into an hour-long PvZ between these two. And it wasn't even a close one either. It was an hour long, and TeebuL was down 100 supply, and RiSky was maxed out, and RiSky refused to engage TeebuL. They just danced around each other for 30 minutes.
Just too afraid.
He was. Well,
you don't want to.
He never saw.
Underestimate Protoss. Is the thing.
Well, he never saw the main armor. He didn't know how little supply there was for TeebuL, so he was just chilling. And, oh god.
And of course, standard Zerg wisdom will tell you never underestimate Protoss, right? Whatever you see of the Protoss army, imagine what you can't see. RiSky took that a little bit too seriously in that particular series.
He did. I guess I recommend tuning into the VOD. Meanwhile...
The devolution was beautiful.
Exactly.
At least that was Romanticide, this is Jagannatha.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we did have a proxy Stargate. The first Oracle does a lot of damage, and despite the first Oracle, there was still no Spore by RiSky, so that the second one dives in and gets even more drone kills.
Yeah, I kind of felt like he was calling TeebuL's bluff there. He said, yeah, you only have one Oracle probably. I don't need to commit too much into Spore Crawlers. Thankfully, RiSky does scout the proxy and will be able to shut this down. But not before being down 11 workers.
Exactly. He lost so many, 10 drones in total there. And what's important is that one of the Oracles did survive. Not both, unfortunately, but one did. And because of that, this Oracle will be able to help out in the defense at home. We, of course, have some Adepts as well, so a Link Flood or a Link Run By will not deny this third base. It is a little bit late, is what I will say. But again, it should be safe and secure. Oh.
Yeah. TeebuL already has the Adepts in position. Shouldn't take too much for him to secure that third base. Templar Archives coming up from TeebuL, so yeah, not committing too hard into Stargate, which I personally appreciate. He is going to sit for more of a I imagine, Charged Archon composition.
Yeah, I imagine so as well. We're waiting for the upgrade here on the Twilight Council, but it should be for Charge. This should be for Archons. What's scary is that we, of course, have the War Prism zooming across the map, and ooh, I believe it was not scouted by this spotter Ling. I do appreciate, though, that TeebuL isn't doing what every other Protoss does on Jagannatha and going into double Stargate Void Ray.
Well, I guess that is why he has been able to stay so consistent when it comes to DreamHack seasons, isn't it?
Spice it up.
He does his own... Yeah, exactly. He does his own thing, and he does it well.
Exactly.
Never too predictable.
Yeah. Just because everyone else is doing or is going double Stargate Void Ray doesn't mean that he has to, and he still finds success with these other styles, with these other compositions. As we do have the first two Archons morphed in, he's going for a bit of an Archon drop here towards the natural base. At the same time, Charge is started, so our 5 gateways on the way to go into that Charged Archon composition that we were talking about.
Oh yeah! TeebuL ramping things up very, very, very quickly. RiSky still working on a bit of a roach push, it seems. Charge is still on the way, but the funny thing is, if TeebuL pulls the trigger first, I actually feel like that might favor RiSky a little bit more, right? Gives him a little bit more time to get the upgrades in.
Yeah, I would assume so as well. Like, we'll see how this works out here, as RiSky is pretty heavily supply blocked. A couple of roaches are picked off here, but again, like, the Archon's already paying for themselves, like forcing eight overlords. Oh my god, a laser?
Oh,
you're playing later on today, buddy. What's what are you doing here?
He heard that we're casters in the EU server. He was like, "Oh, is it time? Am I late?"
Shout out to Vanya, by the way. Vanya's already here.
Vanya is, exactly. He's prepared. Vanya, mate.
He's the world champion. Of course he is. As we have some,
joke.
Man, we have some multi-prong harassment going on right now. We do have Chargers Archons Joe. He's getting on top of the fourth base. At the same time, we have Immortals and Sentries pushing into the third.
Man, I thought that TeebuL pulling the trigger first would benefit RiSky, but TeebuL pulled the trigger way too quick for RiSky to react. He just does not have the supply to split up his forces. His army gets cut in half, and TeebuL is just picking it apart one unit at a time.
Yo, the surround was insane. TeebuL, he could have gotten a kill in the fourth base, but he's like, yo, I see an opportunity. I don't need to do this. Let's go for the full 360 surround on the Zerg, and that's exactly what he did. We were talking about it earlier. That supply block hurt RiSky so much. He barely had any army to work with, and GG gets called.
TeebuL takes game number 1 in a very decisive and aggressive manner.
Wow, GG, what a game there. There were so many facets to that, with the proxy Stargate into the hidden tech as well, which I don't believe RiSky was able to dive in and scout to begin with. He really struggled to. I mean he never dealt with the Archon drop. Oh boy.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does kind of feel like TeebuL read RiSky really well that game. Knows that on Jagannatha especially, the Zerg player typically wants to go for that sort of launch pad, right? Utilize the speed zone to go for a quick little push. So TeebuL decided, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna be the aggressive player this time.
Oh boy. Exactly. And he was aggressive, to say the least.
Yeah.
It was insane what he was able to pull off there in game 1, and now we are diving into game number 2. Can we see our Zerg player bring it back? Are we going to go to that ace match, or is it going to be one and done, mate?
I certainly hope not. Partially because, one, this is the PvZ I had up my eyes on. As much as I was curious about Quintel, and it's always a treat to watch me on Mike and a ZVP, we knew that RiSky versus TeebuL was going to be an exciting match, especially now that I know what our ace match is going to be, as we load into game number 2 on Oxide LE. We're in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We have the blue Protoss player coming down from the... playing from Britain right now, gonna be representing his team Genesis Gaming, as well as the land of Pakistan. He is, of course, TeebuL.
And it looks like we have some confirmation here, hailing from the land of Bologna. He's in the chat. Could he be here impersonating the red Zerg player, representing himself and the land of New Zealand? It is RiSky, aka Laser.
Oh, definitely.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's transferring his energy, isn't he, Laser? I mean,
is that a good thing?
Transferring his energy to his Zerg brethren. Well, I mean, look. He knew that RiSky was just coming out of retirement, right? He needs a bit of a boost from whoever's willing to give it. And Laser, he's gonna be the one.
We love you, Laser. We love you.
We do.
Best of luck to your groups and your matches later on today. I hope you are well rested here. And yeah, it's cool to see him see you in the chat as we are getting into game number 2 between these two players. Oh boy, and we'll see if we see more of the same. I mean, it is Oxide. I still expect to see at least a Void Ray opener at some point here from TeebuL.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we talked a lot about TeebuL's versatility. Part of that is that he also can play standard. He can play to the meta.
Yeah, he very much can. That's the thing. That's the scary thing about both these players, I guess, or TeebuL specifically. Like, especially because Zerg is typically the more reactive race, and so far we haven't seen RiSky being that assertive here, right? We haven't seen like any kind of ultra aggression. He's just been kind of a little bit more passive, chilling back. And this time the Stargate's at home.
That it is. I do kind of feel like part of that from RiSky, why he was playing a little bit more passive, does come down to the fact that TeebuL decided to be aggressive first.
True.
RiSky didn't get a chance to play out his game on Jagannatha. It's partially why we see so many Zerg players veto it, but yeah, he did decide to slip it through. Thankfully, he decided not to... These players decided not to curse us once again, or to torment us with another romanticide game between the two of them. So, yeah, shout out to RiSky, taking one for the team.
Yeah, thank you so much, RiSky.
Letting Jagannatha go through. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it quite a bit. But we'll see where this will lead us. As right now, RiSky, he's, scouting the edges of the map. Again, game 1, for those who are just tuning into game 2, there was a proxy Stargate, and it dealt... 10 drones went down to the proxy Stargate. It was insane. So RiSky, he is being a little bit more diligent.
Make sure he covers all of his bases, but this time there's no need to fear. Not yet, anyway. As TeebuL does go for Void Ray opening. Actually, double Void Ray coming out. Is he going to stop, or is he going to commit?
Oh,
he's going to stop eventually.
Exactly. He's stopping soon. So what's important is, of course, the Void Ray reveals itself, so RiSky is aware of the Stargate opening, but he still doesn't know if it's double Stargate or if there's a Twilight Council behind it. Like, RiSky, he needs to morph in like an Overseer or go for a Link Scout or again, like a couple of other things to clue him in to what his opponent is up to here, so he can deduce the build. And a couple more gateways are finishing up, so TeebuL being a little bit cheeky, still looking to go for that third though.
Should be able to defend it pretty well as well, now that the Void Ray has returned home. Twilight Council has finished up, and Glaives, that was what I was starting to wonder. Is TeebuL going to go for the good old Void Ray into Glaive Adept harass?
Yeah.
Adepts, not typically what you want as your main army composition here for the Protoss player, but it's very effective across the map to kill drones.
Definitely. It's terrifying. And the problem is that RiSky doesn't know. He hasn't seen anything yet. And oh my god. So what we're going to be seeing is a lot of adepts being warped in at home, and then they're all going to shade across the map. There is no robo with this. There isn't going to be a war prism, but at the same time, RiSky, like, he already has his Roach War, and I imagine he's going to be working towards a big push. Like, the creep is already well spread towards his third base.
Yeah, this time it looks like RiSky is going to go for that aggression he wants to go for.
Yep.
How well will TeebuL be able to defend this? Well, he's getting a Dark Shrine, so his chances have immediately shot up, but I'm still worried. There's not too many defensive structures by that third base, and now TeebuL sees the creep is already on his side of the map. The queens are already making their way. Throws out a couple more shield batteries. You'll love to see it.
This is a terrifying moment here. So obviously a lot of hopes and dreams for TeebuL are in these adepts to harass across the map. Also defensive DTs, right? Is there going to be an overseer with the main army of RiSky? Otherwise a couple of DTs sprinkled in will be able to defend and thwart this push.
Well, Laser is here, so we should at least be seeing some of the overlords in position.
I would hope so.
We just need some more of them in overseers.
Meanwhile, I love this. We actually have some multi-pronged aggression with these adepts. The first wave is going to be hitting the third base. The second goes straight to the natural. RiSky, his multitasking will be put to the test.
Yeah. TeebuL has been so on top of these multi-pronged harasses throughout the series. Well, I say harasses, but in game number 1 it was more of a straight up multi-pronged push. This time, more of a harass, but still one that's dealing a lot of damage. Not quite game ending yet, but if RiSky isn't careful, it can be.
Exactly, as the queens do fall. We just see 16 drones in total. Mate, this is already paid for itself, and it still hasn't been cleaned up. More importantly, the push was delayed and denied. TeebuL has more time to get his stack defense up and running. The shield batteries, the cannons. There we go, 2 more Stargates on the way to go into those Void Rays.
Very nicely done here for TeebuL. It's not
no detection.
Victory is far from assured, but the ball is definitely in his short. In his court. There's no detection by that third base, as you were saying. Spore Crawler, I think, was taken out earlier, or just never borrowed there. There's no detection by the main either.
Exactly.
Overseer's only now morphing in.
Yeah, the Overseers are going to finish up in time, but again, damage is being done as we have a DT in. Oh my god, we have 4 DTs all over the place. Workers are going down. Mining is being denied, and RiSky, he still just can't get control of his bases.
Man, I love how well TeebuL just sprinkles his units to each base.
Yeah.
A little bit everywhere.
He just does it time and time and time again. Finally, RiSky cleans everything up. Finally, he is free to drone up. But mate, he wanted to push like minutes ago, and it just hasn't happened. And now it's too late. Now we have cannons. We have the shield batteries. We have all of our production up and running for TeebuL.
Yeah, I think there is a very, very slim opportunity here for RiSky as he brute forces his way through, takes out some of these cannons before they can finish up. But he realizes that there's not much he can do at this location. Thankfully, RiSky can still contain TeebuL on 3 bases, but he's still losing drones to DTs. He's got the detection, but doesn't have the units. He's forced to pull all the way back.
Oh my god!
And now TeebuL is taking out the Overseers.
Exactly, sniping the detection. More Overlords are going down. RiSky for the 2nd game in a row with a massive supply block here, as he is deep in the red in that supply. He's trying to go into Hydras right now as a response, but oh my god, again, like this is not where RiSky wants to be. 7 Overlords. It is a laser. Oh god.
Well, we can already say it was in the chat. So.
You're like, was there ever any doubt, mate?
Yeah.
Oh,
if you think about it, the flag of New Zealand, the flag of Poland.
Yeah, that base is basically the same, mate. Hey, you think it's Singapore or Indonesia? Nah, mate, New Zealand.
Exactly. Oh, is there enough damage here? Well, regardless, the Overseers will still provide that detection, but that just leaves one more vulnerability here for RiSky, doesn't it?
Exactly.
If TeebuL decides to throw some DTs that way again.
And you know he will, you know?
Yeah, the base is very vulnerable. He wants it.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the Void Ray squad is pushing out into the center of the map. Ooh, runs into the Queens, though, where he's not going to find too much success. There's plenty of energy here for Transfuse, so the Void Rays do get forced away, and the Roaches actually outmaneuver them, try to find a way in, maybe a potential 4th base. Unfortunately, the 4th is towards the bottom right, not the center left.
Unfortunate. Seeing the 4th bases, though, TeebuL, as you said, wants to go for that 3rd base. It's so low! A couple prismatic alignments, and it should be taken out. TeebuL doesn't have Flux Veins, and there are plenty of transfuses here for RiSky. TeebuL, he's going to have to retreat, lick his wounds, and try to find another way of dealing with that base. Gets even more drone kills here. Not the biggest, not the most amount of damage, But
Yeah,
I mean, it's still nice.
Yeah,
to get at this stage of the game with adepts, making use of adepts.
Yeah, exactly. As 4 more drones go down, what's important is that this base is still weakened, so we could see it sniped later on. The Hydra Push finally comes out. The bottom right base will be denied. TeebuL cannot get a 4th up and running, and I'm still waiting for the next step. Like, TeebuL, the Void Rays are great. I thought we were going to see a Fleet Beacon to utilize these 3 Stargates. No, instead we see double Robo for Immortal production, and eventually Disruptors.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the ball was in TeebuL's court for the longest time, but did delay or didn't quite make use of that too much, and now RiSky stolen it under his nose.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared here. Like, the Sentries, they don't have a lot of energy left. Sentries would be amazing right now, by the way. There's no
really
Ravagers to deny and bile down those force fields.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, there's no Ravagers to bile down Disruptors? Question mark? I'm not sure where I was going with that one. Well, look, what I wanted to point out was that TeebuL is getting Disruptors, and that is definitely gonna... Well, it has the potential to swing things his way. It always depends on how well the Purification Novas can land.
Yeah, exactly.
All he really needs is one good one.
As RiSky is maxed out, he has his Hydras and his Queens. Ooh, the first Disruptor shot does whiff. The second, though, doesn't connect.
Ooh. Okay, it connects decently. A couple of Hydras and some Queens, but not quite the devastating amount of damage that TeebuL really needs. Drones are going down, apparently.
Yeah, as we do have the DTs we were talking about. Of course, the DTs were going to be sent, even though there was spores. There's no army there in position. Meanwhile, the Queens are being forced back, just exposing the Hydras. Uh-oh.
Yeah, and while it is only Void Rays right now, Void Rays in enough numbers can deal enough damage to take out the Hydras, or at least be enough of a threat to pull them back. TeebuL, I feel like he should have been dead to that assault, but has found a way to climb out of the grave.
It's one of those things where it's understandable. Like, on Oxide, it's so difficult pushing up either one of these ramps, so he just couldn't do it. But at the same time, like, for only a handful of DTs to really pull away his attention like that was huge. More than we really expected. And now TeebuL, he's trying to get a 4th up. It still shouldn't be possible. Like, there's still a lot of Hydras here, but he's trying.
Yeah, I can at least delay or flat out deny this 4th base. TeebuL has to cancel. That was a kill. Oh boy.
Exactly.
For as much drone damage TeebuL is getting, it's not really. It's really just minimizing his own losses.
Exactly, and like, unfortunately, because of this creep, which is basically covering the entire map, TeebuL doesn't have the breathing room to get an expansion, so now he's kind of all in a way. He does have a decent mineral bank, but not a gas bank. Ooh, he does find a lot of Queens for free, though. Ooh.
Oh, the Purification Novas do land, and the Void Rays clean up the weakened Queens. I'm just saying, Zealots, I mean, they're pretty good. If TeebuL decides to go that route.
He wants to. Charge isn't done yet, and yo, a lot of the Purification Novas have already been used up. Here come the Zealots from the flank. The Vipers are coming in to try and get some abducts. No, they go for a parasitic bomb instead.
And it's a beautiful Parabomb too, covering just about every single Void Ray. TeebuL having a little bit of difficulty splitting that up. The 4th base again! He just wants to get a 4th base, but RiSky ain't having none of it.
Yeah, RiSky knows his win condition. His win condition is to starve TeebuL out as best he can. But despite that, this is still a very strong army. Oh my god! No splits! Oh my god.
And
the Vipers!
Gives TeebuL a bit of an opportunity. Very good pickoffs here for our Blue Protoss player, but he's going to need to do a lot more than that. Look at the bank that RiSky has right now. He could remax and still have a bit of a bank here.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? TeebuL overextended. Now he's deep in creep. He does throw down a couple of force fields. Another Nova does not connect because of the yoinks.
What a clutch yoink here for RiSky. TeebuL, he could have even things out there.
Yeah.
But RiSky is still pretty far ahead.
I mean,
thanks to those very clutch yoinks.
I'm still impressed with what TeebuL hasn't been able to accomplish here. Like, he's still trading so well despite being down 40 supply, and that supply gap is getting smaller and smaller. We have carriers on the way. Colossus. The unfortunate thing about this is that RiSky is transitioning into Corruptors. 20 Corruptors are on the way. Oh, God. Like, Archons are what you need at this point.
Pretty much. No effective splash damage for TeebuL. At least no effective anti-air splash damage. The Colossus is going to do really well against the Hydras, but as he was saying, Hydras are not what RiSky wants to stay on for the rest of this game. The base will finally fall. And it was getting battered down for the longest time in this game, but yeah, now it finally goes down.
Finally.
Don't think TeebuL has spotted the Corruptors just yet.
Exactly. this run by of Zealots they do spot all these Corruptors, and now TeebuL needs to respond to this. Hopefully he was looking, because they were only on the screen for a couple of seconds there, as we do have those High Templar morphing in, but it may just be for Storm.
Yeah, I mean, Storm can deal decently well against Corruptors, but they're not as reliable as Archons, are they?
Exactly, and I here
more of a
we
zoning
go.
tool than in anything else for the Protoss player.
RiSky, he wants to fight here and now. Nice feedbacks though.
Yeah, I got very worried for a sec. Thought TeebuL was exposing his High Templar too much, but he pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
And now RiSky is a little cautious when it comes to engaging.
And now it's one of those things where TeebuL, the win condition for RiSky was to keep TeebuL on 3 bases for as long as possible and starve him out. But now the 4th base has finally been taken. Now he has some momentum going his way. TeebuL, for the first time, has maxed out.
Huh. Not expecting that to happen at all this game, but yeah, no, he has a bit more of a chance. Another really good Para Bomb, as good as Battery Overcharge is. Not sure if it's going to be enough.
Yeah.
TeebuL's army already weakened before the fight starts.
That was a value Parasitic Bomb, to say the least. Meanwhile, we do have a bit of a Zealot run by. It does force all the Hydras to come back. Oh my god, or most of them anyway.
Yeah, still a little bit of force here towards the south, but Sack Defense should be enough to deal with that for TeebuL.
Yeah, RiSky doing whatever he can. Why this is happening is that, of course, RiSky wants to get rid of all his Hydras. He wants to transition into Ultras, Corruptors, Broodlords, Infestors. Like, he needs to free up some supply without, you know, losing too much at once and just dying horribly.
These run-bys are actually doing a whole lot right now for TeebuL. Another really good feedback, but there's still one Viper with full energy. That's what, 4 yoinks? More than 4?
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't done the math yet.
Yeah, that one Viper is really the backbone of RiSky's army right now. Oh my god. He has to be careful, as finally that RiSky's run by gets dealt with, as 8 probes did get picked off. We do have a bit of a Hydra run by, but these Zealots should be enough to clean this up. TeebuL is responding to it, and this is terrifying, because we were talking about how big of a deal it was for TeebuL to finally take a 4th base. Now he's taking a 5th. And that creep spread from earlier, like, it's being cleaned up.
It's being dealt with, yeah. RiSky's being chased back to his own side of the map, but as you were saying, RiSky is kind of fine with this for the time being, as he is just trying to get his ultimate endgame army.
Yeah.
He's fine with giving up ground if it means that his economy isn't going to be affected, if it means that his key units aren't going to be sniped.
It's one of those things where, like, you know, like, get like a snapshot of this game 5 minutes ago to 5 minutes now, and just suddenly things have swung in favor of TeebuL, it feels. To be fair, like, the tech is really nice for RiSky. He still needs to refine his army a little bit more, but there we go. Earlier, he was relying on 2 Vipers. Now he's got 6 up and running. He's got the Corruptors. He's getting +3 air attack. He's working on the Greater Spire for the Broodlords. Sure, he loses a base, but mate, it's okay. It's okay for now. I say okay for now. Like, his resources are kind of hurting a little bit.
They are still technically mining more than TeebuL, but he has spent his bank from earlier, and this transition ain't cheap.
It's not. It's like Broodlords especially. So yeah, RiSky's okay for now, but he has to be, like, he can't give TeebuL too much room, and room is what he's getting as he's even going into Tempest.
Huh. We've officially gotten to the late game, I suppose. That's how you can tell in the PvZ that we're in the late game. When the Protoss player decides to go for Tempest, you never see them otherwise.
I mean, you know, Quantel earlier
today. That was a game.
It was.
People losing a lot of probes.
Yeah, we do have some Hydras hitting the 2 fringe bases of TeebuL, and TeebuL, unfortunately, because he's maxed out, like, he's having a hard time warping in to defend. There we go. Finally, we have a warp in here. A couple of DTs will clean this up, but TeebuL is losing a lot of workers. He's down to 46. Doesn't necessarily have to replace them, to be fair, but...
Yeah, this does give him a bit of a larger army.
True.
For going those workers. The scary part, though, is that TeebuL doesn't have a bank, so if he doesn't win an engagement, if he's forced to remax, he won't have the resources to do so.
Exactly. That's the problem with Protoss, is that your army is very expensive. it's an expensive army. Once you lose it, it's kind of a one and done sort of thing. So he has to be careful. Meanwhile, that Zealot run by actually scattered all these Broodlords, so now TeebuL is well aware of them.
Yeah, those Tempests will actually help out pretty well against the Brute Lords, assuming he can isolate them. I finally know what the name of the upgrade is now, Light. Tectonic Destabilizers. Why was I thinking Coil?
I don't know.
Something.
Tectonic Destabilizers. Maybe there is. But there we go. We do have that building upgrade, which is important because we do have spores coming into play, so the Tempests are going to be vital when it comes to cleaning these spores up. Meanwhile, we have a couple of DT run-bys being set up as well. They're being dealt with for the most part, and things are going to be slowing down here. But I really do like RiSky's army. It's all about the engagement though, and how he controls it. He has Vipers, he has Infestors, he has the ability to Fungal and Parasitic Bomb and Abduct. Like, there's just so much that he can do. But you know, what can he do?
But what will he do? Yeah.
Exactly.
There's a lot that he can do. What can his army do?
I guess the other way, there's a lot that his army can do, but what can the player do is what we're about to find out here.
Yeah.
Ooh, as TeebuL is looking for a way in.
Yeah, not quite finding it yet, but slowly making his way. I'm getting flashbacks to last year of Veins. That champ's like all of a sudden.
I mean, this is a bit of a different scenario, you know, where this time instead both armies are maxed out, and TeebuL is making a couple of moves here and there, you know, harassing, trying to snipe bases. You know, he's been so on top of this base at the top left, and once again, this Void Ray hit squad will kill the hatchery.
And would you consider Void Rays to be a unit you want to start getting rid of? I imagine that you still need something to deal with the Corruptors. We could also argue, well, the Archons can do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the Archons are here to deal with the Disruptors. Sorry, the Corruptors even. The important part is the Tempests, right? Because TeebuL was maxed out, I think he only had one in total, and you need more Tempests here. Like, their range is so vital.
You absolutely do. There's no easy way to engage into all those Spore Crawlers without Tempest. One Purification over lands, but in this case, one was not enough. That was a kill on the 6th base, not a cancel.
Ooh, both players denying their right-hand bases or their left-hand bases, their fringe bases, if you will. But I also just realized that that's another thing that TeebuL wants to get rid of. He wants to get rid of these Disruptors. He needs to replace them with Immortals to help deal with those Ultras, because the Ultras want to close the distance and get on top of the High Templar. There's a lot going on here when it comes to refining armies, and they're getting there.
Ooh, doesn't quite get that Fungal High Templar. Exposing itself a little bit, and it will be sniped by the Brute Lords.
Yeah, just a little bit over eager there. A little bit of an unfortunate High Templar. Meanwhile, upgrades are finishing up 3-3 for RiSky. Almost 3-3 across the board here. Meanwhile, we're still missing 3 attack plus 3 attack and defense for TeebuL. He is a little bit lagging behind in those upgrades. Is it the biggest of deals? Probably not the biggest for Protoss, but you know, it does still factor in a little bit.
It definitely does. It's just when it comes out to the engagement, it will mean that TeebuL will have less survivors. Speaking of less survivors, beautiful Fungal and an even better Parabomb being thrown down by RiSky. I think he just smashes here.
Yeah, I mean, for the second time here, we have Storms blanketing the entire army of RiSky. But how many more Storms? Because the Broodlords, they're powering through, getting on top of every single High Templar. There are only Carriers and Tempests left, and there is not going to be enough here for TeebuL.
Not at all. Even the Neural Parasite to add insult to injury. I haven't killed that yet. Waiting for Neural Parasite to run out.
He will kill it eventually. It all built up to that one engagement, and TeebuL just kind of A-moved his way in. We saw him just sit in those Parabombs. The Parabombs annihilated every single Void Ray. The Storms were there, I guess, but again, there wasn't enough to buffer and stop those Broodlords from just powering through and killing everything on the ground.
Yeah, the Storms are nice. They don't do too much damage against Broodlords specifically.
Exactly, and now this is when we Funada RiSky a little bit because he is maxed out, and TeebuL, he is struggling hard to reproduce here. He's run out of money.
Listen, you don't want to underestimate the Protoss army, right?
I understand. So. Yeah, I get it. I understand. It's
You can
just
speak
like,
from experience.
you know,
Yeah, as a
risky.
Zerg
You
player.
get some momentum. You don't want to overextend. It's always a terrifying thought. But he is giving TeebuL the opportunity to come back. I don't think he can after that fight. Not gonna lie. Like, I mean,
He's gonna try.
he is gonna try. He just has no
Will he succeed?
gas.
That's another story.
Yeah, yeah. Oh boy.
Oh.
As he's moving out here for the final engagement, pushing out, he realizes that if TeebuL wants to win, he has to try and make something happen. He blinks on forward, but he doesn't really have a real response to the Broodlords as they slowly make their way forward to encompass this army.
Yeah, Stalkers are good in theory, but I highly doubt they're even gonna get close to the Broodlords, not with all these Infestors and Vipers.
Exactly. Meanwhile, we have a Zealot round by, but there are plenty of Ultras here to meet these Zealots. The Zealots will go down, and GG gets called. We are going to our ace match.
Yes! And I say yes with such conviction because, goddamn, I am excited for what map we're gonna have that on.
Oh my god, let's go as we just update the people here. And as we're getting set up for the next map, we just got our own updates from the ESL admin. My oh my, Yaku, we were talking about the shark popping off. Demi took down Seether 2-1.
Oh my.
Mates.
Massive upset. I think one of the largest upsets in this region.
Yeah.
And he's the first player to qualify for the playoffs bracket.
There you
the
go.
playoff stage.
Yeah, that was the winner match. So Demi, he has made it to the playoffs. GG, well done, Demi. He's been an amazing player, and now he is popping off. He's finally like peaking and flourishing. He took down Miyamaika, his nemesis, and now he took down Seether in a ZVT.
Oh boy. Especially because for a lot of 2021, Demi was a little bit less active. He was focusing a lot more on university. He was that was where the majority of his focus was lying, but he got his knowledge, he gained wisdom as a shark, and now it's finally paying off.
That's the thing about Demi, mate. He became one with his spirituality, you know, with with finding a higher power under his mouse, and he also became one with his brain and his mental, right? And now coming together, he is the ultimate beast of the sea. The capital C, SEA.
I thought you meant capital C, like, you know, C. I was like, what?
And yeah, now he's popping off. Like, he takes it serious. He's the first player out of his group. Congratulations, Demi. Tomorrow we will find out who joins him, whether it's going to be Seether or Miyamaika. That's gonna be a spicy TVZ.
I'm so worried for Miyamaika.
I am as well. Yeah, it's his worst matchup. It's like, oh god. But yeah, I am worried as well, which does mean that now in the mainstream, they have joined us here in Group B. They are going to be casting the other series, which is Probe versus Raza.
Oh, a bit of a PVT going on there.
That there is. Meanwhile, we of course are ongoing with our current series. You can see it here on the screen right now. We are tied up 1-1. We are going to the ace match, and there's a reason why Yaku was so excited about the ace match. Like, oh my god, we didn't think that we would get it. It is Beckett, mate.
That it is. The map that we never get to see, especially in a best of 3. But oh boy, these players have no fear. On Beckett Industries, LE, we're in the top right-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the top right-hand corner. The blue Zerg player coming out from the land of New Zealand, playing for Britain. He is going to be representing himself as he's currently teamless. He is RiSky. Get frisky.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Beckett Industries LE, we have the Red Protoss player representing the land of Pakistan, as well as Genesis Gaming. It is TeebuL.
All comes down to this. It's actually a Hatchers coming out from RiSky?
Yeah.
Alright, well, I guess he just wants to avoid being predictable.
Yeah, as we do have a probe scout coming out from TeebuL, so it makes plenty of sense. He does confirm that there's nothing going on. RiSky does go for a hatch first here, not necessarily going for an aggressive opener, which can be very risky to do on a map like this when you're up against TeebuL, because, mate, it is kind of predictable to do something like that, right?
Yeah. I guess from the Protoss side, the Protoss equivalent of that would be, I don't know, a 4 gate, I would assume. So we'll see if our players decide to get a little bit more aggressive this game, or if somehow, somehow, Beckett Industries is the map that gives us our 45-minute game. Probably not, but
we'll see.
It's a real possibility.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, speaking on the previous game as well, like, I was so impressed with how TeebuL was able to bring it back, right? Like, he was up against the wall, there was creep in his face, he was stuck on 3 bases, and he was just non-stop harassing with Zealots and DTs and Void Rays, and he was trading so efficiently with his Disruptors. He did so well getting out of that situation and clearing up all the creep, getting the 4th base, getting the 5th base. But when it came to that late game army composition, it did feel like he lacked a lot of control. Like, every single time a parasitic bomb landed with his army, like, he never split, mate. he just tanked it all, mate. Oh god.
Yeah, which you never really want to do. I guess his army was also a little bit less refined than it could have been, but you know, at the same time, Protoss is a very expensive race. That army was very expensive to begin with. You don't necessarily want to throw away all those units unless you can trade with them a little bit more. TeebuL doing something very different this game.
Mate, let's go. We were talking about aggressive openers, and surprisingly, it's not from the Zerg player, it is from the Protoss, going for a very fast Robo here. So there are a couple of things that this could be. We could see additional gateways thrown down, so we could see like a fast War Prism to be aggressive with gateway units without any upgrades, without any Twilight Council upgrades, or we could see a very fast Robotics Bay next to this, and some Disruptor drops.
Now you've hyped that up for me. I would be disappointed if if we get anything less from TeebuL now.
Do it. River the main!
Going for it!
Let's go! Let's
see how well you went the scouting.
Exactly. As so far, we do have the Stalker here patrolling the main base, making sure nothing gets in. The Overlord is at the natural instead, looking poised to go into the main base. Right now, RiSky is in the dark, but maybe not for much longer. Meanwhile, we of course have the War Prism coming out. Once it comes out, we're going to see some Disruptors, and we should also see War Prism speed.
It's actually rallied towards the teammates right now. Oh, he wants that high ground vision to take out the Overlord.
Yeah. Oh my god, and with it, he will be able to force this away. So, again, something that I mentioned earlier, which is important. This is a very fast War Prism, and this could be for Gateway Harass, right? So, RiSky is still in the dark. He has a piece of the puzzle, but not the entire puzzle. And TeebuL, he's going to want to be a little bit aggressive here. For starters, he has to buy some time and wait for the Disruptors and War Prism speed to finish.
And that can definitely take a while, especially with even with Chrono Boost. I like this from TeebuL, getting a couple of Adepts out. So for all RiSky knows, it's going to be a bit of a glaive Adept to harass.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, he needs to sell it as something else. Like, that's the goal here for TeebuL. So he shades in with a couple of Adepts, going to keep the attention of TeebuL at bay. So the problem and the reason why I actually don't really like this, like, I don't really like this on maps like Beckett and 2000 Atmospheres, because he's banking a lot on these Disruptors, and if they whiff, the counterattack hits so quickly.
Man, that's why I love seeing this strategy on maps like Beckett Industries and 2000 Atmospheres. He has to execute this perfectly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just gonna get rolled over by all these lings.
Yeah. The thing is,
sticking ahead.
He doesn't want to play like Starduck.
Well,
I mentioned it in ANZ Champs last week. Starduck did this against Peppy and he died horribly. But we'll see how this goes as the first Disruptors move out across the map. We do of course have 2 in this War Prism, but there are lings to dive on top of them. First one doesn't connect. We do have a second though.
And that first one should be regaining or getting its Purification Nova off cooldown. I like this from TeebuL though. He is still thinking ahead, gets a lot of gateways, even starts working towards Colossus.
Exactly. I love this from TeebuL. Sure, he doesn't have a Twilight Council. Sure, he doesn't have charge. But regardless, he will still be able to muster up an army for that counterattack in case RiSky went across the map. Meanwhile, the Disruptors come down. It looks like one Nova will kind of go off on a couple of Lings. Oh, God.
Yeah. This one will go off on a lot of Lings. And to be fair, they are just Lings. They're the most expendable unit right now for RiSky, but it can add up if TeebuL consistently shaves off that Ling count. He doesn't see the army moving across the map, and that is terrifying.
Exactly, he doesn't have any vision. Finally, the army does reveal itself, and now the Disruptors are going to be the backbone of this. Sure, we have a Colossus, but again, how good are these Novas going to be? There's not that much for a Ravager.
More enough to potentially take out the War Prism. Not quite in position to do so, but
oh god,
there's a possibility. The queens are isolated.
Oh my god, they're completely exposed, and now just like that, 2, 3, 4 queens are going to get picked off. So much of the firepower here from RiSky gets thwarted as he was going to go for a Queen Roach Ravager walk, and that was intercepted here in the middle of the map.
Yeah, a lot of firepower gets taken out, a lot of sustainability thanks to those transfuses has been taken out as well. A very nice force fields coming out here from TeebuL. The Biles, though, if they don't land on the... Even if they don't land on the force fields, they land the army regardless. RiSky breaking his way through.
Exactly.
Looks like he's going to take this engagement.
Mate, the Novas were not good enough. The surround from RiSky was insane. The force fields were also lacking because there wasn't a full wall there. Instead, the Lings still slipped on through, and just like that, RiSky takes the entire fight. And now we've been here before. TeebuL, he lost his high-tech units. He lost everything, and he's on 2 bases. He can't really afford to just remake that. Meanwhile, RiSky's making his 4th.
What were you mentioning earlier on about how if the Disruptors get taken out or whatnot, then the counterattack is going to hit hard? Well, we just got a demonstration.
Exactly. Like, even though we had these Disruptors rushed out of production, they only really killed Lings. Like, when they did connect with the Roach Ravager, it was like 1 or 2 Ravagers, and that's it. Like, there was never that juicy connection that we were waiting for.
Yeah, you kind of needed, You know, the rest of the Roach Ravager makes his way across the map, and I mean, there's really nothing here for TeebuL to defend. The third base will go down once again, and I'm getting a lot of deja vu here, Light.
Oh yeah, man. For not a Starduck. Nah. A different kind of deja vu, right? Where, unfortunately, TeebuL, just like the previous game, like, he's stuck on 2 bases. He can't really expand freely. The creep is getting out of control. This is probably the one thing that RiSky has been able to maintain throughout this entire series. Another nice detonation on the Lings, but he just keeps getting Lings. Yeah,
RiSky's mineral income has barely had a dent. His mineral bank has barely had a dent here, despite having to make all those Lings.
Exactly.
And his gas bank is getting higher and higher.
Oh my god, RiSky is so close to maxing out. At the moment, again, his goal is just to contain his opponent until he gets maxed out, and then he can try and push into the fortified natural location. Meanwhile, TeebuL went behind Dark Shrine as it is on the way.
Well, we saw how well it served him that previous game, drawing the entire army of RiSky back and forth, so maybe we'll see a similar story here.
Maybe. It's optimistic to say the least. As TeebuL is getting his 3rd up, this is scattered by RiSky, and now he's getting in position. He has detection. Oh my god, the DTs get intercepted.
Mate, because Beckett Industries, it's a fairly skinny map. It really doesn't take much for the rest of the army to get into position. That's a lair, though. And that gets taken out, then no more overseers can be made, but I don't think it matters too much. We're at 127 army supply versus 40.
Exactly, and just like that, the Disruptor gets sniped before the Nova gets off. Once again, even though we had some force fields, the Lings still slip on through. GG gets called, and RiSky takes the series 2-1.